So what are the best places to see Australian wildlife in the wild? Have you thought about a trip to Kangaroo Island? Most visitors know about key Australian sites like Sydney and the Great Barrier Reef, but Kangaroo Island is still a bit of a hidden secret. Why is that? In this video, you'll learn what you can do on Kangaroo Island in just 3 days. Plus, you get a proven travel itinerary with lots of important planning information. Believe me, Kangaroo Island could very well be one of the key highlights of your overall Australia holiday. So let's get started. Have you ever woken up to a kangaroo sitting right outside your front door? Well, we get to that, but first let's tackle some key questions like where is Kangaroo Island located, how do you get there, what is Kangaroo Island famous for, and how can you fit this nature lover's paradise into your overall Australia itinerary. Trust me, getting these details right will make your trip unforgettable. So Kangaroo Island sits on the southern coast of Australia, around about 110 kilometers or 70 miles southwest of Adelaide. It is Australia's third largest island. It's around about 155 kilometers or 96 miles wide, or 55 kilometers or 34 miles from north to south. So it's certainly not a small place. So how can you actually get there? There are two ways. You can either use the ferry or take a domestic flight. If you're going by ferry, you first need to get from Adelaide to Cape Jervis, which is around about 2 hours drive. Once there, you will take a 45-minute ferry ride over to Kangaroo Island and you will arrive at a place called 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗄. A much faster way to get over to Kangaroo Island is using a 30 minutes flight from Adelaide to 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗀 Airport. Currently, the only airline offering that is Qantas. I would recommend you take the morning flight so you can start exploring as soon as you arrive. Later on in this video, I'll give you more information on how to combine Kangaroo Island into your overall Australia travel plans. If you find this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button below to stay in touch for more helpful travel videos to come. So what is Kangaroo Island actually famous for, and why would you want to visit the place? Number one, incredible wildlife. Kangaroo Island is like an open-air zoo. It's one of those rare places on planet Earth where you have a close-up encounter with kangaroos, koalas and sea lions. We'll talk about those special locations in a minute. Number two, breathtaking landscapes. If you love unusual landscapes, then you'll enjoy the unique rock formations at Flinders Chase National Park. Like the remarkable rocks and Admiral's Arch are pretty unique, unlike anything you might have seen before. Number three, food and wine. Thanks to Kangaroo Island's pristine environment, they have a unique species of honeybees, which produce some of the world's purest honey. The island is also famous for its award-winning gin, boutique wineries, olives and of course seafood. And again, we'll visit those places soon. Last but not least, Kangaroo Island has some of the most stunning beaches in Australia, like Vivian Bay, Stokes Bay, Emu Bay. Again, we'll check them out very soon. Now that we covered the basics, it's time to get into the fun part, discovering the wildlife up close and exploring those unique places on the island. Now let's have a look at the Kangaroo Island map and how you want to structure your time on the island. There are 4 distinct regions on the island to visit: the western side, eastern side, northern and southern side. If you have 4 to 5 nights on the island, this would be perfect, but most visitors don't have that much time available. Therefore, try planning to have 3 days, 3 nights, which we will base this plan on. So here is what you want to do. Day number 1, fly into 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗀 Airport from Adelaide by taking the morning flight. That way you would arrive around about 10:15 in the morning. For the first day, I would recommend that you join a guided tour from the airport. But before you do that, get your rental car key first and leave the car at the airport car park. On day 1 you would see the central and the northern parts of Kangaroo Island with the island live tour. See a link in the description box below. This will give you a great head start with a local guide which will explain the island in much more detail. Also during day 1 you would visit Stokes Bay in the northern side of Kangaroo Island. If you are lucky you can see your first cute koalas sitting in the tree. Other sites in this region is 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗁 Conservation Park, which is a protected area with wild koalas, kangaroos and other species. Fantastic for bird watching, especially for the rare glossy black cockatoo, which is only found on Kangaroo Island. Emu Bay, one of the few beaches on Kangaroo Island where you can drive with the car on the sand. Lavender Bay Farm at Emu Bay, it's a perfect place to relax with lavender scones and tea. There's also the Bay of Shoals Winery, one of the most scenic wineries on the island. And Snelling Beach, a family-friendly beach with calm waters for swimming. So for the second part of this day tour, you would head over to the southern part of Kangaroo Island to visit Seal Bay Conservation Area. This is one of the best places in Australia to meet sea lions in the wild. Other sites to explore is Vivian Bay, it's one of Australia's best beaches. Little Sahara, a giant sand dune system, you can actually sandboarding. Kelly Hill Caves, a limestone cave system with incredible stalactites. Just to be clear, you could visit those locations on your own with a rental car, but having a local guide with you at least for part of your time on Kangaroo Island will make a huge difference. So now that we covered the first day on the island, it's time to talk about accommodation. From my experience of visiting the island numerous times and in my day job as a travel planner for international visitors to Australia and New Zealand, it's best to be located centrally. Now, remember those kangaroos sitting right outside the front door? Now that's your chance. As an example, if you stay at a 𝗀𝗶𝗹𝗃 retreat, that's exactly where you get that. A 𝗀𝗶𝗹𝗃 retreat is located more or less right in the middle of Kangaroo Island. It offers standalone villas. Personally, I have stayed there and I can highly recommend the place. Most accommodation options on Kangaroo Island are actually located around Kingscote and Penishaw, the northern Emu Bay area, or as far as the western side with the exclusive Southern Ocean Lodge. But also the eastern part of the island would be an option, but you would have quite a distance to travel to see the highlights at Flinders. So there's a handy travel tip for you. Many roads on Kangaroo Island are still unsealed. Therefore, if you travel with your own rental car, it is wise to explore with an SUV car. Also, service options such as fuel and food throughout the island are limited, so remember to stock up before you set out for the day. So for day number 2, head into the western part of Kangaroo Island with the Flinders Chase National Park, either with a guided tour again or with your own rental car. As I already mentioned before, the area is famous for his rock formations, such as Remarkable Rocks and the Admiral's Arch. They have those amazingly sculptured forms unlike anywhere you've seen on planet Earth. Other sites to explore in this area is the Henson Bay Wildlife Sanctuary. It's great for seeing koalas, kangaroos and other wildlife. Cape Border Lighthouse and the Coastal Cliffs, a historic lighthouse. It's great for whale watching and spotting sea eagles. So on day number 3, you're heading over to the eastern part of Kangaroo Island. The eastern region is the main gateway for the island with a ferry or terminal at Penishaw and the island's largest town, Kingscote. This area is known for its historic sites, coastal scenery, great food and wine, and wildlife experiences. Other sites to explore is the Clifford's Honey Farm, which has honey tasting and homemade honey ice cream. Dudley Wines, a clifftop winery with great local wines. The village of American River, it's a quiet fishing place known for its fresh seafood and oysters. Pelican Lagoon and Salt Lagoon is a bird watcher's paradise. 𝗀𝗶𝗹𝗃 is located right on the eastern side of Kangaroo Island. Great views over the ocean. Here are some places on the eastern side you could stay. 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗁 Kangaroo Island Lodge, it's a mid-range waterfront lodge. Sea Dragon Lodge and Villas, it's a luxury retreat with private beaches. I've stayed there before, it's a really cool place. Kangaroo Island Seafront Hotel, comfortable stays in Peneshore. A number of hotels and Airbnb options also in 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗀. 𝗥𝗥𝗃𝗀 is obviously quite central with all the facilities you want, so you might want to opt that if you don't want to stay too remote. So generally, if you have only a short time budget, it might be worthwhile for you staying in the eastern side and exploring the eastern parts of Kangaroo Island. It's much closer to the ferry and has all the access to food, accommodation and tours. Now, how do you combine Kangaroo Island into your overall Australia holiday itinerary? Unlike many parts of Australia, Kangaroo Island is a fantastic year-round destination. If you've seen my other videos on Australia, travel seasons and climate, you know that Australia's summer months between November and March is generally not a great time to visit the northern regions of Australia and the outback. That is due to the heat in the center and the rainy and cyclone season in the northern parts. So when planning your overall trip to Australia and you want to include Kangaroo Island, there are two main options for you. Number one, stick around the southern Australian area when traveling in the months between November and March, so in summertime. You can then pair Kangaroo Island with destinations like Sydney, Melbourne, Tasmania and the Great Ocean Road. Or number two, include the northern Australian parts and the outback if you travel between April and October. You can then visit the Great Barrier Reef, Uluru and add Kangaroo Island into your itinerary. If you visit between June and August, you'll need to know that Kangaroo Island has a bit of a cooler temperature then. Though with a dramatic coastal scenery, the 𝗵𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 peak wildlife activity like spotting newborn kangaroos and koalas, it's still a great place to go. Okay folks, that's your introduction to Kangaroo Island. Check out my sample travel itineraries for Australia in the description box below on how you can incorporate Kangaroo Island into your overall Australia holiday. Thanks very much for watching. See you in the next video.